The whistling's lovely, but if somebody could play the piano, that would be nice too.
That's Foray. That's
Where's our pianist?
that's one of the songs that our soloist sang. Après un rêve. Maybe the most famous of all Foray songs.
Lovely. Okay. Stop video. So you should be able to hear now. Stop video. It's the video's going. Start video. It's got extra things in there. Okay. Watch out. They want to have a diet. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna try my red.
There it is.
Look at that, right on time. Hello, everybody. It is 7 o'clock. And so we're going to start BCCO rehearsal. Today, of course, is Monday at 7 o'clock, the middle of November. It's November, right? I'm losing time and losing track of what month it is, let alone day. So today, of course, we are continuing rehearsing on movement 6. But we thought it might be a lot of fun because, as you know, as we talked about last week, movement 6 and movement 2 were late additions to the Foray Requiem. There are 7 movements now, but originally there were only 5. And so the second movement and the sixth movement were added later. And as we talked about, the sixth movement particularly actually feels quite a bit out of place, because even though after the fifth movement, the Agnus Dei, we come to a beautiful resolution in D major, which would normally go directly into the In Paradisum, the very end of the Requiem itself. He adds, of course, the darkest part of the Requiem, the sixth movement. And because we have baritone solo, like we have the soprano solo in the fourth movement that anchors the entire work, as we said, is that special keystone. The second and sixth movement actually feature a baritone soloist. So we thought as a special treat today, we'd actually invite one of our favorite baritone soloists, Efrain Solis, who is, if you remember him, he was our baritone soloist for the War Requiem back in 2016. And so Franny is going to be joining us and singing those parts of the second and sixth movements so we can hear them live rather than in recording. And also sing another work by Fourier, as well as chat with us and even lead us through a little bit of a vocal exercise too. So the plan for today is for Julia to lead a traditional warm-up for the chorus. I'm going to do a little bit of ear training. A lot of you had a lot of comments saying that was particularly helpful, especially because it can be very disconcerting singing alone to your recordings. And so want to give a little bit more tools to help find those notes quickly and try to figure out those notes in terms of the scale degree and within the chord itself. And so we're going to be doing that a little bit. And then Franny is going to be joining us to sing and talk about the second and sixth movements. We're going to take a little break and then start working on the sixth movement, which is one of the more involved movements and has a little bit more a faster tempo, etc. So it's going to take a little bit of time over the next course of the few weeks and spend some time in sectionals with Paul and Julia. So it's going to be a fun rehearsal today. I'm going to pass it on to Julia to lead us in the warm-up, and then we'll be back with ear training right after this.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ming. Hello and happy Monday, everyone. Let's start, as always, standing up for our warm-up. So I want us all to start looking down at the floor. Take a look at your feet. Make sure that they're approximately about hip width apart, right, as we always say. And just take a second to thank them for the balance that they give you today, for balancing your weight. And rock back and forth so that you're leaning on the balls of your feet and then back onto the heels, back and forth until you can kind of find like a nice center moment where you're neither leaning forward nor leaning back on your feet, but nice and even in between. And then now think up to your knees and bend a little bit, bend them, and then bring your knees kind of back. Make sure that they're not locked, but they're nice and relaxed. And go ahead and make your knees smile, kind of lift your knees up a little bit, give them a little smile. And we're going to take our arms, instead of lifting up, we're going to do what we did last week and clasp our hands together in front of our heart. And then pull your palms out towards your device, or if you want to kind of angle away, just as long as you're pulling out actively. So it's not just about setting your arms here and then just kind of sitting. You're pulling actively. You're trying to pull your shoulder blades apart, right? You're stretching through your shoulders, stretching through your back. If you want to, you can go ahead and relax your head down to your chest. And that also stretches out your neck and your spine a little bit. Keep stretching, stretching, stretching. Keep going. And then we're going to do a little bit of a twist. So we're going to kind of bring our arms out and around this way and up. And your head does a little peekaboo through your arms. And then same thing over to the other side. Peekaboo. Opening your chest up and your heart up to the sky each time. So every time you come up, kind of pull your shoulder blades back a little bit if you can. But as you move forward, you're really pushing your arms out, your shoulders out to get a nice good stretch. So you're stretching out and then pulling your shoulder blades back and then stretching them out and then pulling them back and then out. Just a couple more times. Last one, and come back to center. Excellent. And relax your arms down at your side and lean your head over to one side, and that shoulder that you were stretching, the hand that's attached to that shoulder, pull it down actively towards the floor. Take a nice deep breath and exhale and roll your head across your chest over to the other side. Same thing, the hand that is attached to the shoulder that you're stretching, pull it down towards the floor actively. Nice deep breath through the nose, and then exhale through the mouth. Come back up to center, roll your shoulders back 1, 2, 3 times, and then forward 1, 2, 3 times. 3-second dance party, shake everything out. 3, 2, 1. Great, excellent. And then come back to your nice center again, finding that balance on your feet and that nice tall posture through your spine. Hopefully you feel a little bit more relaxed. Now go ahead and we're going to do our tongue rolls. So we're going to take our tongue, draw little circles on the inside of our lip. So it'll look like this. All right, everyone join me. We'll do a few of them in one direction, then we'll switch. Here we go. Other way. And then go ahead and make the biggest face possible, lion face, ah, and smallest face possible, scrunch everything up. And big face one more time, ah, and small face, tiny face, And massage your face. If you washed your hands recently, take your hands up to your face. Massage your jaw. And go ahead and smooth out your cheeks if you've been doing a lot of smiling today. And relax your forehead. If you've done some worrying today, relax your forehead. And then bring your massage down to your neck and massage down the sides of your neck. And maybe back up the back of it and massage the base of your skull, where your neck, your head meets your neck. And you know your own body. If there is a moment or a place where you're thinking, oh, that needs a little extra work, take a little extra time there. Warm-ups and these massages and stretches are always to get back into our bodies, to check in with ourselves, to release tension where we need tension released. See if you can get your shoulders in there too. Excellent, great. And relax your arms back down to your sides, and we're going to do some breathing. So we'll breathe in on 1 beat, hiss out for 4 beats, and then the next breath we'll take in, we'll hiss out for 8. Each time we take a breath, we're adding 4 more beats. Here we go, ready, breathe. Off. We'll do the next one in a second, but I do want us to make sure that when we use our S, we're engaging here. Maybe not like a punch when you engage, but you do want to engage your belly muscles when you say that S. It's not just coming from your mouth. Here we go. We'll start with 8 counts this time. Ready and breathe. 12. 16. 20 on a pulse. So instead of a nice sustained hiss, we'll go s, 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 like little staccato notes on each beat. Here we go. For 20, ready, breathe. S, 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 out. Great. And now we're going to do some consonants. My whiteboard is back this week. And we're going to say these consonants that I've written out. Hopefully they're the correct way for you. I don't know what way my camera is. Maybe this is helpful or not. I see some thumbs up. Great. So the first one, ksh, and the K sound, you should feel a nice engagement in the belly, almost like a little bit of a hit. And then the SH, a nice elongation, a nice sustain, and then another kind of engagement for your belly for that last K. Everyone say that with me. Ready and go. Ksh. That second one is PFP, do it with me, ready, and go. And this last one, TST, goes tst. Here we go, do it with me, ready, and go. Tst. So I'll just go through all 3 of them a couple of times in order. So it'll be ksh, tst, where there's a little time to breathe in between. Here we go, do it with me, ready, and go. Ksh. Now, if you notice the whiteboard moving as it did last time, that's because my breathing muscles are engaging on those noises. So yours should be moving too. Let's do that one more time. Ready and go. Great, excellent. And now we'll do some singing. Stay standing. I'm going to sit down at my piano as always, and we'll start with lip trills as we sing. Breathe. At the back of our mouth, that sound as if you just said sing, and nice long elongated sound at the end there. We'll sing finding that engagement in the mask space, making sure that you are finding some resonance, your local beehive, as I said before. Here we go, ready and breathe. mouth can be closed or open, up to you. Last one. All right, so now sing ah is what we'll do, and focusing on using that sound to find that resonance. When you open to the ah, careful that you don't fall back into the back of your throat, but you stay forward in your placement. So instead of sing ah, you want still forward projection. Sing ah. You still want some depth, some lift with that soft palate. And a nice tall vowel, right, rounded vowel instead of ah instead, nice tall. But you do still want that same placement, that buzz that you hopefully found from the last exercise. Okay, sing with me, we'll go sing ah. Ready, breathe. Sing ah. Sing ah. Sing ah. Sing ah, sing ah, sing ah, sing ah, sing ah, sing ah. Last one. Sing ah. All right, next one we'll do a vowel flow singing E, A, A, O, U, all on one note. But I want us to practice crescendoing and decrescendoing over the course of the note as well. So, E, A, O. So crescendo into the ah, and then decrescendo out of it as well. Careful that you are keeping pitch that whole time, right, and not either going sharp on the crescendo or flat on the decrescendo. So it's a lot to focus on. But this does come across, this messa di voce kind of moment comes across in the Liberame, which Derek talked about last week too. Sing it with me. Here we go. Ready and breathe. Two more. Last one, and. All right, and everyone take a nice deep breath and do a siren from the top of your range down. Here we go. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Ming, so please be seated as Ming begins our ear training.
Please be seated. That's great. Okay, so we did this a couple weeks ago, but I want to focus on some tips to try to figure out how to find your notes within chords, as well as some tips for better sight reading. And so, in general, the most of the music that we sing is tonal, which means that it's based around a certain key. And as a result, there are two things that can aid us greatly. One is the scale in that key, and the other one, of course, is our chords. And the way we sing chords are by arpeggios, because we can't sing more than one note at a time, obviously. So we sing arpeggios. So I want to do a little bit of both of them, some exercises. One of them is one that we used to do a bit. It's one that I did in grad school quite a bit. And that's to sing all the different types of qualities of chords. There's certain qualities of chords. One of them is major. Of course, you know major. Right? One is minor. Right? This minor chord. But we also have diminished chords. Like if you have a choo-choo train or silent movie, the bad guy comes in. Right? That is diminished chord, and then an augmented chord, which is actually not very common, and it also sounds like a train actually. And Debussy uses it quite a bit for augmented, for whole tone scales. Dreamy sound, right? So one exercise that we do is where we sing all of them in a row. We sing major. Let's do a key that everybody can sing. So it's major first, nu, 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 then minor, nu, 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 then augmented, nu, 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 diminished, nu, 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 nu. And this just gets an idea of how to sing triads and to hear certain chords. So let's try that first. Let's do major. Nu, 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 here we go. Nu, 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 nu. That's basic, right? We sing those all the time. How about minor? Nu, 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 here we go. Nu, 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 nu. So let's sing those two together. We'll sing major, then minor. Okay, here we go. Ready, and nu, 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 nu. Let's try a different key. Let's see if I do this key. Ready? Here we go. Major. Nu, 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 nu. Minor. Nu, 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 nu. So major and minor. Let's do a different key. Let's do this key. Here we go. Major then minor. And nu, 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 nu. Now, let's add the two less frequent chords, augmented and diminished. So augmented is the same as a major, except the top note actually goes up a half step. So you sing a major chord, major triad, major third first, and then you sing another major third. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the chord while I give you the notes. Okay? So I'm going to do it first, and then you do it. Ready? Nu, 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 here we go. Nu, 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 nu. Let's try a different key. That's just one half step down, apparently. Ready? Here we go. I'll sing it first, and then you sing. Nu, 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 nu. Here we go. Nu, 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 nu. Let's try one more key. Here we go. And I'll sing first. Nu, 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 nu. Here we go. And nu, 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 nu. So the chord progression now, the progression is major, then minor, then augmented. So let me sing an entire iteration first, and then you repeat after me. Nu, 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 nu. Why don't we try this together? Ready? 1, 2, and go. Nu, 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 nu. So 3 of the most common chords, and there's one left, and that is diminish. Diminish is 2 minor thirds on top of each other. So we start like a minor chord, but then sing another minor third. Nu, 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 nu. And if you want to, you can crunch down your eyebrows a little bit to make it a little spooky. Nu, 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 nu. It was just Halloween, right? So I guess we'll still have Halloween pumpkins or something like that. Nu, 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 nu. Here we go. I'm going to sing it first and then you sing. Nu, 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 nu. Here we go. Nu, 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 nu. Let's try this key. Nu, 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 nu. Here we go. Nu, 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 nu. So let's try this key. Nu, 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 nu. Here we sing. Nu, 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 nu. And And then we can sing all 4 of them together. These are the 4 qualities of chord, like the 4 temperaments. We have major, minor, augmented, diminished. Now, augmented we don't hear very often. And so when we sing the augmented, that's the one that choruses usually as a large group all together singing. Even when you have 200 people helping you sing, we often get that note wrong, the top note wrong, because we don't have that very often at all. Diminished chords, oftentimes people make too flat because they make it too scary and they kind of squish it. So I'm going to play along for now, especially since we're singing individually, the chords underneath while we play, while playing the notes on top of it. But I'm going to do again the entire iteration, and then we sing after that. And then we end with major. Major, minor, augmented, diminished, major. Here we go. Ready? Here we go. Now we sing together. Ready? 1, 2, ready, go. No, 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 no. Now, that is a fun exercise that we're going to start building in as a regular part of the ear training. So we introduced it this week, but then we're going to do it repeated and try different keys, figure out how to do it with ease, hopefully. It's a little odd to start off with, but it becomes very familiar after a while. Now, this is a fun one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play a chord, and I want you to sing any note in that chord. Find any note. And again, we have no idea. So even if you sing some crazy, ridiculously high note, then great. If you want to sing a high C, because it's going to be a C major chord, fantastic. If bass is you want to try your lowest C, that's great. If you sing any note in the key, in the chord of C major, C, E, or G. Here we go. Find any note. I'm going to sing no, or maybe I should sing no, 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 no. Why don't you try a different note now? No, no, no. I don't think I could actually sing that last one. I could hear it. I can trust myself in singing it. Okay, now, we're going to sing this. I want you to sing. We're going to oscillate between these 2 chords. And I want you to sing any note within these 2 chords. Make your own melody. Like, no, 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 no. Just sing any note that you find. Okay? Now, we're going to make it even more difficult. We're going to go. This chord progression, sing any note, in those chords. Okay? So we're going to go, you could sing no, 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 no. Just sing any note within this chords. Now, the wonderful thing when we do this in person is that when you all pick your own melody, nobody's melody is going to be exactly the same as anybody else. Maybe we might have some repeats. But if we sing them all individually at the same time, what you get is harmony. From your one voice picking out some notes of this chord and everybody picking different notes all over the place, you get that chord progression built up immediately by everybody singing those chords together. So we get this chord progression. And again, the idea of being able to hear a chord and then sing a note within that chord is the first step to really figuring out your note and its function within the chords that we sing as a chorus in these works. And so there's, I forgot his name. There's a famous, there's certain music methods and pedagogy like Suzuki method or Kodai or Dalcroze, Eurythmics, right? Orff method. There's another one that talks about music in this way, and I forget who the instructor is, but he views music as language. And just like there are phonemes that make up letters, that make up words, that make up sentences, in music we have the same thing too. And so it's just about learning those patterns and putting them together that creates harmony from melody. I can't believe I forget his name. So the last thing I want to do before we turn it up to Ephraim, is to actually do some scales. Because when we talk about scales, the important thing is to know is that when you're in a key, the note that you sing within that scale is actually has a certain function. So when we're in the key of C major, there is one note that is so important that is named after that scale degree. It's the C major scale. The most important note is C, right? That makes sense. That is the do. So if we sing do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, so, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. My solfege is terrible. So in any case, let's try to sing this together. Let's sing a scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Here we go. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. And if you don't get the solfege, don't worry. Just obviously, the names of the solfege because of Mary Poppins. Is it Mary Poppins? Do, a dear? No.
Sound of Music.
Alive.
The Sound of Music.
Sound of Music.
Maria.
That's terrible.
Sister Maria.
I think I lose my license to be a musician. So this is, the notes of this scale is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. But going back down can be a little bit harder. As you can see, for me, it's like counting backwards in the alphabet. Now, like I said, do is the most important note in that scale because that is the basis for that scale. We call it the tonic. So is the second most important note. And just like basses know this after most of all because it goes so, do. And so, so's function is to anchor do, and it's also to be the fifth scale degree. We have it as the main note of what we call the dominant chord, which is the chord that leads to home. And just like we said last week, mi is like three blind mice to me. Mi, re, do. Mi is not as secure as do. And so you can hear it like it wants to sort of have a slight pull towards home, but it is actually in the first major chord. Do, mi, so, mi, do. Do, mi, so, mi, do. Now, the two notes that I want you to focus on right now are fa and ti, because those are notes that really have very strong pulls to other notes in the scale. And so we have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. Everybody right now, hopefully, can hear and wants to hear that note go do. We want it to, quote, resolve. Its function is to really pull towards and lead everybody back to the tonic. And thus that's called the leading tone. T is a leading tone because it leads us back to do. So let's sing that together. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Okay, let's sing that together. Ready? 1, 2, and do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Right? It's just like the elections. We've been held in suspense for such a long time, right? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So when you sing ti, when you have a note that pulls so hard back to the tonic, you can start to realize maybe that's a leading tone. Maybe that's the T in this scale. And so that's one of the things to start listening to. And then the other one is fa, is the fourth scale degree, because this is the one. Fa wants to go to mi, and that's why we have the. You can hear that fa wants to go down to mi. It wants to resolve down, while the ti goes up. Now, those three notes, ti, fa, and so, If you put them together, what do you get? You get that dominant chord, which, like I said before, is the chord that leads us back to the home tonic, the home key tonic, C major. And we can have this chord, the So, Ti, and Fa, in any key, and it'll have the same exact function. So I'm going to pick a random key. Let me pick out the Ti, So, Fa, play them together. And then what does it want to do? It wants to resolve. So the whole point of having what we call movable do, which means do represents the most fundamental and strongest pitch in the scale, is that every single note in the scale has a function. It has a pull or an anchor. It leads us to another note, or it gives us a feeling of very much settled nature. And so when we start to hear the notes, certain notes in the scale degree are notorious. Mi, for choruses, always needs to be higher. You want to elevate yourself. You want to elevate mi, right? And for Ti, right, you want to, Ti leads us back to do, right? And so there's a lot of fun things about that when we hear that in our melodies, where you can start to hear those chords. If I played... I just ended on the T because you can hear it wants to go back to do. And so you can start to identify the notes and how to figure them out in your chords. Okay, great. We spent a little bit of time on ear training and warm-up, so our schedule once again is all over the place. But I am so excited because, as Jan has been posting, Ephraim joined us on our 50th anniversary of the BCCO since its founding for 2016, when we had the most socially undistanced performance that we had, with huge chorus, with 2 orchestras on stage, with 3 soloists, 2 conductors. Actually, we had 2 choruses because we had the children's chorus as well. And so I'm really excited because we again are talking about the Fauré Requiem, the 2nd movement and the 6th movement, which Fauré added later on, and features a baritone soloist who leads us to salvation both times. And so, of course, as we talked about the Ostias in the 2nd movement, how we're sort of lost and meandering in the 2nd movement before coming in on the coattails of our baritone soloist. But then, of course, what Julia had mentioned towards the end of the 6th movement, the Liberame, talking about the Judgment Day, and we obviously sing that in echo. So I'm going to pass it over to Ephraim and welcome him to our rehearsal. Whoa.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, we're trying to find you so we can highlight you.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. Every single time I see you, you have more facial hair.
You know, it's just the older I get, the more hair I get, apparently. Other people tend to lose it. I just keep getting more.
That's great. Basically, you're picking up the energy from everybody else. Where we're losing hair, you're gaining hair.
It's the cards I was dealt.
So how are you doing during this? It's funny. Obviously, if you don't know, Ephraim from the performances in 2016, he has been singing all over the place. Was Marla singer with the San Francisco Opera, and I think you were to have your debut with the LA Philharmonic, but that got canceled because of COVID.
I did. I was supposed to make my soloist debut with Gustavo Dudamel singing Schoenberg, and it was canceled, and I was because I'm from Southern California, so I was so excited to finally be able to invite people to a performance of mine, because I'm always in like Houston or New York or DC or something, and it was nice to be able to say like, you can come see me and only have to drive 40 minutes, and then it just all disappeared.
How are you handling things otherwise? What are you up to nowadays?
Well, I'm actually in San Jose. I am working with Opera San Jose. We just finished filming 3 Decembers by Jake Heggie, and actually today they just released a little, like a 15-minute documentary on the process of filming the opera. So I'll make sure to send that to you, and I just put it up on my Facebook. But it's a nice kind of 90-minute opera. Susan Graham came to play my mother, and we all quarantined together, and it was really exciting. It was a lot of fun. And Jake Heggie came, and he got tested and quarantined and all the things, and then came to coach us for a week during rehearsals and kind of give us his feedback. So it was a blast. I mean, it was definitely a little kind of glimpse of paradise, and then kind of went back to reality once the show was over. So.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, and obviously things are shutting down even more, which is quite ridiculous. But we're so excited to have you here. It's been 4 years since the Britain, and obviously that was a very special anniversary for the chorus.
Yeah.
And I think everybody, the Britain's not the easiest piece to put together, and so at the beginning of the process, it was really fun to hear the chorus really have a lot of nerves going into it, saying, like, is this a piece can we do, or I'm not sure if I like this piece. But I think after the end of the performances, that's one of the highlights, I think, for a lot of people. Such a meaningful work and such wonderful performances over the course of the run. So it's wonderful.
You guys sounded amazing, really amazing. I appreciate the CD.
Yeah.
It's quite an undertaking, the Britain War Requiem, but you guys pulled it off masterfully. So congrats.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's such a. I think Britain is oftentimes people think of them to be very intellectual and not as immediate. Sometimes the criticism of English, the English composers, is that the music is a little reserved, right? And there's nothing reserved about that work, right? It just kind of hits you and draws you into all the darker aspects of war, and not that there are light aspects of war, I guess, but I think it's but it's wonderful to have you here. And of course we have you joining in for Fauré. We've been exploring Fauré, the Requiem, and also French literature, and because he was such a wonderful writer for voice and all the songs too. I hear you're going to sing a song for us as well, in addition to the 2 parts in the Fauré, the Requiem.
Yeah, so I prepared the 2 solos. I got Christopher James Ray here to play the accompaniment, and he recorded it, and now I will be playing it on my television while I sing the solos for you. And I've also got him to record the accompaniment to Adieu, which is one of my favorite Fauré songs. And as you're saying, there's something about Fauré in that it's deceptively difficult because it sounds so. I think he sets the text so well that you can't even tell that you're singing sometimes. But I also am a big French music fanatic, like Debussy, Fauré, Ravel. And I've studied French for like 5 years, so it's my favorite language. And there's just this certain quality about French music that I am a big fan of. So I was thinking I could read you the translation of the text first, and then I will sing each of the numbers for you. And then after that, if you guys let me know, I think some questions about like what you would like help on in like your warm-ups, then I could probably present something a little more kind of curated to that. I actually read about lip trills, and I am a big fan of lip trills, and I actually have an alternative to lip trills. So maybe I'll share a bit of that with you guys. So yeah, let's see what happens. So this is the offertory from the Forêt Requiem, and I will read the text really quickly. It says, "We offer unto thee the sacrifice of prayer and praise. Receive it for the souls whom today we commemorate. Allow them, O Lord, to cross from death into life, which to Abraham thou promised, and to his seed." So this is the Hostias. Here we go. So that is the offertory. So I will now read the text for the Librame. And I have two separate tracks for the beginning and the ending, so it'll take me just a quick second to readjust. But here we go. So this says, "Deliver me, O Lord, from everlasting death, on that dreadful day when the heavens and earth shall be moved, when thou shalt come to judge the world by fire." Libera me, Domine, cieli movedi sunt, quando cieli movedi sunt, et terra dum veneris judicare seculum benignem. Libera me, Domine, de morte eterna. Libera me, Domine.
That's fantastic. I don't know if you can. I'm sure everybody noticed this, but your breath support is so amazing. Oh my goodness! There's all these, of course, breath marks that are optionally written there, and some of them you just kind of like, I don't need that at all. That's great. I think one of the things that I miss a lot, and we've been doing this to recording when we have the orchestra as accompaniment instead of me doing this, is that, we forget that so much about performance is visual as well. And to have sort of this live performance, not only a live in the moment performance, but also to see the expressions and actually the chorus wouldn't normally be able to see you when you're singing like this because they'd be seeing the back of your head, right? And so that's absolutely wonderful. I'm really looking forward to Adieu. I actually don't know that song as well, but if we do some exercises about like breath support and length of line like that, that would be wonderful. But
yeah, a perfect example would actually be kind of how so my first voice teacher, she would actually have me lie on the ground with a book on my lower abdomen, and she would have me actually expend all my air and then breathe in and kind of hold the book up just a little, not like pressing so that you have terrible tension, but it just provided a bit of support for me so that I wasn't tensing up here. And so that allowed me to kind of get a good understanding of what support was or what breath control was. It's not always perfect. Every day is different. But a perfect way to kind of explain that would be the beginning of the Libérame, which is it looks very because it's in cut time. If you slow it down, actually, it can make a lot of sense because if it's let me grab my piano app real quick. So the way I think of legato is actually, I don't think very innovative, but it's definitely a good way to figure out how to get the consonants to vibrate, which is a very hard thing to understand sometimes. It was very difficult for me to understand because they're consonants. How can you vibrate a consonant? But that's actually a really good exercise that I can show you in a second. So, but the way I do legato is I always start with an ah vowel. So it's and so for me, I breathe in the vowel, the ah vowel, and then I don't move anything. I try not to let things jump around. I definitely try not to reach for pitches, because then it just throws your whole mechanism out of balance. The other thing, and so I'll do that first and try to conserve the purity of the vowel. So again, ah. try not to move anything. My tongue is flat. I'm thinking about my breath and just spinning the sound. And then before I add the words, I sing the phrase with just the vowels that pertain to each pitch. So I would sing, and in that, so what I try to do is I breathe in the ah vowel, and I try to keep the same space as that ah vowel and let the tongue and the lips change the vowel. And so by taking out the consonants, you don't chew the vowels. You can't, because you can't close your mouth, because you have to maintain a pure line. And so that is step 2 for me. And step 3 is then I add the consonants, but I add them very, very lightly, and I don't want to chew on them. So it's liberame Domine de morte eterna. And everything is just relaxed. And Maria Callas, the way she explained legato is she would say it's like electricity lines, and you see birds hanging on them, birds sitting on them. They're not weighing the phrase down, they're not weighing the line down, they're just kind of sprinkled about. And so in order to kind of make that phrase sing, I then add a little more vibration to every consonant. And a good exercise to kind of understand that, which is a different version of a lip trill for me, it's also a very good way of warming up without making a lot of sound. I sing on a V. So instead of brrr, I actually just sing v. And so to me, then I get the vibration of where I want the consonants to be. Exactly. So it's not really a hum, it's not really a lip trill, it's somewhere in between. But you feel the air kind of at the tip of your tongue where your teeth are and right where your bottom lip is. And so I do that a lot. And then eventually I add in the text. Liberame Domine de morte eterna. And then I don't have to do so much, but all the consonants are right there. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's fantastic. One of the comments already was that's one of the best descriptions she's heard of legato singing, or he mentioned. That's wonderful. And so you have another song for us, Adieu.
Yes, and so Adieu is the perfect example of this kind of legato singing, because this piece is nothing but legato. And I will read you the poetry very quickly. And this is from a 3-song set called Poème d'un jour, a poem for a day. And it kind of highlights the kind of 3 major points of love, where you meet someone, you have murky waters, and then you finally say goodbye. And I think it's one of the most bittersweet songs I've ever sung. And it's called Adieu, Farewell. And it says, how swiftly all things die, the rose in bloom and the cool dappled mantle of the meadows. Long drawn sighs, loved ones, all smoke. In this fickle world, we see our dreams change more swiftly than waves on the shore. Our hearts change more swiftly than frosted flowers. To you, I thought I would be faithful, cruel one, but at last, the longest loves are short, and I say, taking leave of your charms without tears, almost at the moment of my avowal, farewell. So this is Adieu. Comme tout meurt vite, la rose déclose, et les frémots dit après de près, les longs soupirs, les bien-aimés, ce monde léger, changer plus vite que les flots des grèves, nos rêves, plus vite que le givre en fleurs, nos se croyait fidèle, cruelle, mais hélas, les plus longs amours sans cours. Et je dis à qui toi vos charmes sans larmes, presque au moment de mon aveu.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
That is Adieu by Fauré.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I want to open it up to questions as well if you want to join in. Or if you want to put it in your chat, or actually, we could probably tempt fate and
Yeah, why not?
mute if you want. But while people are doing that, you said you absolutely love French literature. You're saying Debussy, Ravel, Fauré, and everything. What are the characteristics of French music that you really love, or some other repertoire that you love to sing?
I think there is something about it's actually very similar to Russian music in that there's such a beautiful line that comes with singing French and Russian because there are no actually there. I think I can say this with absolute certainty, but don't quote me. I don't think there are any double consonants in French. So, like in Italian, you can be singing, but you still have to stop the sound at some point for a double consonant. So, aspetta, and so you have to physically stop the sound. Whereas in French, you can just sing, consonant and legato forever, and that's kind of my favorite thing to do. So.
Here's a question here. What do you like even better than trills and V's, I suppose, for warm-ups or...
I had a few sessions with Samford Sylvan, who passed away a few years ago, and when I was at Marilla, and he gave me the idea of the V, but he said that that's just one of those consonants that you have to use to warm up. He also said humming on an M, humming on an N, and humming on an S. And so, and the S actually, the S actually went back to my very first teacher, because she would have me like she would count out how long she wanted me to hold a pitch, or she wanted me to hold out my breath, and so she would say, okay, we're gonna do it for 10 seconds, and I would have to for 10 seconds, and if I had any tension anywhere, she would stop me and have me start over again. So so to me, those are wonderful alternatives to lip trills, because the point of the lip trill, as someone stated earlier, is you want to be able to get good breath control and also consistency of breath, which is a very, just because you're singing a high note does not mean you have to kind of tank up, you know. You have to keep a consistency of breath, or else your mechanism just kind of jolts out of place. So to me, those three are very important: V, an M, an N, and an S.
There's another question here. The whole note says, the final note of Adieu was a case in point about spinning tone, maintaining support, and feeling the pitch keep lifting to avoid sagging. Are there ways to learn to do that, exercises that might help? Or does one need someone else's ear to get proper feedback? Or
So funny enough, there's different ways of kind of getting that for me. I actually, in my mind, think about reattacking, quote unquote, the vowel. But I shouldn't say attacking, because I also hate that word, but kind of reinforcing what the vowel is. So if it's a schwa, I keep thinking in my head, adieu. Almost, you can almost hear it that I'm doing it on the pitch. I mean, on the beat, but I'm not accentuating it. I'm not kind of coming down or re-attacking every time. But in my mind, I'm just thinking about visualizing that vowel and that pitch continue on, so that I don't start to sag, and I don't start kind of dropping the vowel and my breath. So it's funny. It all comes down to two things: vowels and breath.
here's another question. What did you get of Marilla program?
You know, Marilla was definitely the longest race I've run in a very long time. And the thing that's wonderful about Marilla is that everyone in the business comes through and gives you their opinion. And you also have to learn what works for you. And for me, that was very important, because you have to, you know, and I won't name names, but, you know, I got everything from you should be singing Wagner to you should sing only Handel and Baroque music. And you know, I had to kind of pick what resonated with me and go with what I felt was healthy for me. Now, at the time, I was I think 23 or 24, and people were kind of very excited about what I could do, but I had to really stay true to myself, and thankfully, you know, it paid off, because if I had started singing, you know, bigger repertoire too soon, then it would have destroyed me. And I was just very lucky that David Gockley really trusted me and encouraged me to kind of stick to what I knew I could sing now, and it's kept me healthy. So if anything, that's what Marilla taught me, to stay healthy.
That's fantastic. Well, we've loved having you here. It's really, I can't believe it's been 4 years already.
I know, it feels like it was just last year.
Are you staying, how long are you staying in San Jose? Are you heading back soon, or is that
I'm here until May. They've asked me to stay until May because we're working on some digital projects. We're actually going to be recording, Ashley Dixon and I, with John Churchwell. We're going to be doing the two big Mahler cycles, the Ruckert Lieder and the Wayfarer songs, and it's going to be very beautifully captured and digitally released for pay-per-view. So
fantastic?
yeah, it'll be, and to have John Churchwell playing, I mean, it's just what more does one want?
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll definitely make sure to get the information of that project as well as the last JKG project that you just completed. So that's gonna be fantastic. So yeah,
Yeah, and I'll send you the bullet points to that kind of
yeah, that would be
legato exercise. It's kind of a hard one to do as a group, but right now it actually works perfectly because everyone's, at home. So you can
exactly.
take your time and really kind of practice each one, and I hope it helps.
Wonderful. Thank you again. It's so great to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah, good to see you guys. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
And so we're going to take a quick break. Feel free to unmute or just chat. Ephraim is such a lovely guy, too. He's such a wonderful person, right? And I think that's one of my favorite things about some of the artists in the field is that you have these incredible artists that are also just great people, too. And, I think Opera San Jose actually has a pretty big powerhouse of people that are in quarantine all together right now doing these projects together. So it's something really to check out, I think. But we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to turn off the laundry quickly and get a drink of water. But I'll be right back. And then we're going to attack the sixth movement, or not attack the sixth movement, and try some of those exercises that Ephraim was talking about, and see if we can build in that idea of more comfortable long legatos, and of course singing with freedom and ease, but with support. So back in a little bit.
Are we all unmuted?
Mute yourselves and cacophony will result.
Just Kitty is the only one who's unmuted.
Oh, there are others of us.
Eileen, that was good what you said about lip trills. That was interesting. Thank
Well,
you,
I
Eileen.
you can go and search Google and everything else while you're still on Zoom. I'm just,
Yeah.
I do
Yeah,
it all the
that's-
time. People say, I don't know what it means. And I go, well, gosh, let's look it up while we're online, I did give you also
was
the link.
watching.
I gave you the link where I got the information too.
Yeah, you did. You did. That was excellent. Just
'Cause
lovely.
actually, I like www.30daysinger.com. It's
Yeah,
kind of
thank
useful.
you. I wrote that down. I've got it. Yeah. Thanks.
Hi, Linda.
I was struck by the fact that in the Romantic tradition, the semini eius, the continuity of generations is a very romantic idea, but Britain undermines that. Remember this, the semini, or Europe is killing off the seed. Remember that?
Right.
He's undercutting the whole romantic assumptions that were
The whole generation.
he was buying into. You know what I mean? It's all part of that romantic well, whatever you want to call it, zeitgeist or something.
Well, one of the things that's interesting to me is that when the singer's talking about, using vowels and using consonant stuff, there's a book called Mysteries of the Alphabet. And one of the things you learn in that book is that vowels were considered feminine because air flowed, and consonants were considered masculine.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And so, it's such a fascinating book. I go back to that book all the time.
What's it called again? The
Mysteries of the Alphabet.
Mysteries of the Alphabet. It sounds wonderful.
Who wrote it, Eileen? Who's the author?
Oh, it starts with an O, and I'm now looking it up again because I can never pronounce this person's name. Mysteries of the Alphabet. It's Oaken or something like that. And I can, as I say,
Well, we can find it if we just Google the book. We'll get it.
which I'm
Is
kind
it
of.
an older book or recent book or?
Oh, it's been around a while. Here we go. Mark Alain Ouaknin, I'm going to copy this, 1999. So I'm copying this and I am shoving this into
Oh, a chat.
yet another chat thingy.
I gotta write that down.
Mm.
Mysteries of the Alphabet, The Origins of Writing by Marc-Alain
Ooh.
Ouaknin and Josephine Bacon, 1999.
Hmm.
So it's been around a while now, but I go back to it a lot. I like that, but of course I'm a writer, so of course I go back to the alphabet. I can.
An interesting surname. I wonder if it's French.
I have no idea, and I can never. People say, "What's his name?" And I go, "Gosh, I know it's OUA something," and then I just kind of run out of gas.
Could be North African name, actually.
Oh, could be, and of course, with a
If
name
they
like
were a French
Marc-Alain,
colony.
could be one of the
Yeah.
North African countries that has
Yeah.
connection
Thank
to
you.
France. You know.
Something.
Nigeria.
OUA.
Well, just save the chat. There's a little button you can use. If you go down where you insert your messages on the right, there are 3 little buttons. And if you press that little box with the 3 little buttons on it, it gives you the option of saving the chat.
Thank you.
Huh.
And
Kitty,
Lynn asked again.
Kitty, are you still there? I wanted to
Oh,
thank
yes,
you.
I see that.
Yeah.
Kitty, I wanted to thank you for reminding me about the Britain war requiem and that the whole idea that he, the whole tragic part about killing off the seed of Abraham.
Yeah.
That it really brought tears to my eyes when we sang it. The whole, it was very powerful. That was such an incredible piece. Such a privilege to have done that.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved that particular session that we had. It was just such a thrill to sing the Britain again. It was just wonderful.
Yeah, it was the first time for me, but it was great.
And another thought about the Libra May. Did anyone but me, I mean, I keep hearing in the 19th century Libra Mays a kind of a political statement that it's not just about a heavenly, with the Christian thing, but that there's a political thing. There was this. I think that Fauré wrote this right after the Franco-Prussian War. I was thinking maybe when he says "et terra" on earth, he's kind of talking about the fact that the people in Europe are worried about political freedom, and liberté is one of the key words of the French Revolution. So I just wonder if anyone else hears that. This kind of Libra May is kind of.
Well, certainly with the Verdi, I mean, Verdi.
Yeah, and Verdi.
Oh, Verdi, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Is rooted in the Risorgimento.
Yeah, yeah.
And
it's a medieval text, so it certainly is well rooted in the Christian tradition from a long time ago. The author, just by this time that we have the Mysteries of the Alphabet, the author is the son of the Grand Rabbi of the French city of Reims, Lille, Metz, and Marseille.
Oh,
so
wow.
that's what it is. It's a Jewish name, apparently. Isn't that interesting?
What is the author's name again?
Ouaknin.
Ouaknin, spelled in the French way, O-U-A-K. It's in the chat. So just look at your chat. You got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Eileen
let's come
sent it
back.
out.
So we have some time to sing a bit, but this is a fascinating discussion. We should have more just like round tables or something like that, or square boxes, as we have with Zoom. In any case, why don't we start actually at the Libera Me, since we've been talking about it and hearing about it and just heard it sung as well. But let's go through some of the exercises. Some of them we've done before. Julia certainly has done some of these before. And sing through some of the vocal exercises that Ephraim was talking about in terms of building stamina for long lines to make sure things are connected. But as he said, in a very loose fashion, so you don't feel like you're struggling or trying to really tighten up, but that everything has that sort of silky tone that we love in French repertoire, as well as, of course, his voice as well. It's absolutely gorgeous. So, you know, we're all going to sing the baritone solo. And why don't we actually do it the first way without any pitches whatsoever, and just do it on the s, just to focus on support throughout. See, can I actually make it through the entire line? Can I go to the bottom of the page before singing the next line? And we won't do the entire thing. We'll do the first two phrases, I suppose, as vocal exercises, and then start looking at the Dies Irae, the middle section of this work. So let's try this. I'm going to play along the melody. And our first exercise is simply going to be doing it again on no pitches, no consonants, no vowels, even just on the sustained S throughout the entire line. Here we go. Here we go. Breath. Yeah, it's interesting, just taking the breath only throughout the entire thing. Now, let's do this next version they said on V. Okay, here we go. And here we go. And now it's great. My entire face is buzzing. My ears particularly buzz when I get to V. Now, you know, Ephraim mentioned trying different vowels, both on the S, both on the V, and other ones as well. But the goal is to try to make sure that you actually don't tense anything. Definitely, sometimes we have a tendency to lock down in certain positions. And you want to try to maintain sort of relaxation the entire time. So this time we want to sing it again. And what I want you to do is not massage. You could massage your cheeks if you want to, but just maintain a little bit of physical contact with your jaw to make sure that you're aware of the muscles and you don't tense them up too much. Let's do the same thing again on V. And I want you to be very aware of any tension that you have in your jaw. Let's try this again. Those two phrases. You know, and it makes a really big difference because just being aware of not only the support, but also any lingering tension that you have. Now let's move on to the next version of this, which is to sing this on an ah vowel. Ah. And I want to be very clear, very much focused on your Adam's apple. You can talk about your jaw being in the same place, your tongue being relaxed. But when we change pitches, sometimes we have a tendency for our Adam's apple, or, you know, this area, to lift. And what you want to do, what Ephraim was definitely talking about, is that relaxation helps you. You want to make sure that the tone stays nice and warm and round. And the way that's going to be helped is to make sure that you keep your Adam's apple. For those of us that have more prominent Adam's apples than others, you can actually take your finger and place it very gently, don't press on at all, but very gently at the top of the Adam's apple. And as you're speaking, if you just talk to yourself and say, I'm going to test out what it's like to speak with my finger just above my Adam's apple, you can actually feel it moving up and down a little bit. And when you're singing, you want to keep that as low as possible. So when we do a yawn, you can actually feel it drop a little bit. You drop your jaw, right? And that's what we want to get for our sound and for our vowel. Okay, let's do this together. Ah, and you're just going to sing the melody with your finger above your Adam's apple. Oh, that's beautiful. That's great. Let's do that one more time. Let's do that one more time. And again, if you're having difficulty, one of the most notable things for me was that bottom large leap. Oftentimes people are a little bit brash about it. Indi la tremenda, right? They become very forthcoming with it. They're very, it's very, a large leap. And with Ephraim, it was like there was no change in pitch whatsoever. He just had this beautiful, navigated that, we say it very elegantly, the leap very elegantly. And so he had the same sort of floating sound that still had body support and grounding, but it was just gorgeous and spun a nice D. It's a beautiful, beautiful voice. Let's try that again. Ah, ready? And great. Let's try it now. Again, one element at a time, with only the vowels, but maintaining that idea of even support, maintaining the idea of legato singing completely, one vowel to libera, sorry, okay, let's try this again. Yeah, really, really beautiful. Let's do it one more time, just because it's short, and we can try to focus on the vowels. Now, remember, when he talks about sort of that chewing, it's really just try to speak like this. Try to speak. We talk about chewing vowels all the time, but if you speak this, if you sing this the way we speak, liberamedo. Like if I spoke in slow motion, the vowels would be changing all over the place, and your mouth would be slowly going up and down, right? And what we want to do is change the vowels, but not change the structure of your mouth too much. Keep it open, so it's not li, but li, like an I vowel. And you want to think height instead of spread. You don't want to think flat like a pancake and spread. You want to think like a big, tall, 90-layer cake. That doesn't make sense. Something very tall. All right, okay, let's try it. Vowels only. And then the last one, it's really funny. The way I was thinking the story was going to go this way when he was talking about the birds on the high wire. Sort of like the consonants are just sprinkled on there, and they don't really interrupt or weigh down the line. So let's try this. So really, really nice and long, and let the vowels do the singing, and the consonants are just barely changing to give clarity to some of those words. Here we go. That's great. Why don't we go to the place where we all sing this at the end? So this is going to be on bar 92. 92. And we're going to go on, continuing on from that. Okay, so we're going to sing 92 to basically the end. Let's just try to see where we're at for this right now. Okay, I'm going to start playing on bar 90. Okay, here we go. Bar 92, I'm going to start playing on 90. So, what we want to do is, of course, we worked and did vocalizing through the first two phrases quite a bit. But continuing on from that, you want to maintain that same legato singing, even though. So, quando cieli movendi sunt, bar 107. 107. Quando c'è. You could sing it quando c'è or quando c'è, quando c'è. We want to make sure that we get quando cieli movendi sunt, quando, as if you're swimming through the line. It's one broken line. Don't let it become too rhythmic. Sing the accurate rhythms, but a very elongated legato singing. Let's start from bar 107, right there. Quando c'è, quando c'è. Actually, just sing this first. Sing it like rhythmic. Quando c'è, and quando c'è. Now go quando c'è. Sing through the note. Quando c'è, and quando c'è. So what you're going to do now is quando cieli movendi sunt, quando c'è. Again, think very, very horizontal. Ready? Let's try this together. Let's just start right there. 1, 2, 3. Quando cieli movendi sunt, when we get to bar 112, that interval tends to be a little bit hard for people to do because you want to go, it's not. together. Let's do that about 112. Okay, ready? 1, 2. So, ta-da. Again, you don't want to slide down, but you want to think of it not as a huge jump, ta-da, but ta-da, and very, very smooth. If you visualize the notes as if they were the same note, ta-da, it's much easier to do. Let's do that bar 112, and I want you to focus not on the fact that there's a huge leap, not on the fact that it's a weird interval, but I want you to think about just a crescendo. So it has complete long line. Ready? 1, 2, here we go. And the same thing here. This is hard for two reasons. Not only the jump, but also that rhythm, right? So, I want you to, again, think of it just like you're swimming and floating in the ocean. These intervals are not anything difficult at all. They're just the same note almost, right? Let's try that. 115. Okay, let's try that. 115. 1, 2, breathe. And then that last note that you have, make sure you count 3 whole beats. Off. So you can put a nice 1, 2, 3 to give enough time for the baritone soloist, for Ephraim to join us. It would be lovely to invite him back if we do sing this in person, when we sing this in person. Let's do the entire line of that to the end. Then we'll go through the baritone soloist, sing the end, and then we're going to do the Dies Irae and look at that section, this swung poem of the 11th and 13th century. Okay, let's start from bar 90. Bar 90. Everything that we talked about, you can start adding in the dynamics if you want. Really long. Very nice and long. Here we go. And here we go. Here we go. And now, same thing as before. We don't want to punch it. Liberame. But let's do, this is for sight reading, all with us together, every single part. So soprano line, everybody singing. Ready? Do, 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 re, re, do. Here we go. 1, 2, 1. Liberame. Channel your inner Ephraim and sustain that last note for as long as possible. Now everybody reading the alto line. Do, 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 ti, ti, do, 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 do. And then why don't you actually do what Ephraim was talking about, re-articulate the vowel. So we go, libera me domine. Not that exaggerated, but you're going to think that. So you keep that nice, strong, clean vowel, right? 1, 2 alto line. 1. Libera me liberate me from this note. Okay, let's all do the tenor lines. Now, tenor lines have this great line. Libera me domine. Or libera me domine. You feel like they're actually grasping, trying to reach. So one of those two notes. Okay, here we go. Pick one of the tenor lines to sing. Ready? 1, 2, 3. And then bass lines. This is your chance to be an inner second bass. Or the bass baritone, which have the do 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 do. So pick one of those two lines. If you're an alto, you can try for the low F sharp. If you're a soprano, why not try the high one? Right, that's right. 1, 2, 1. So everybody at the end. So what we have is something chord. Those are 3 chords, and you basically have major, diminished, and a minor chord. Look at that. We're just missing the augmented. We have a full set here. But 3 of those chords basically there. Right? With a pedal. Here we go. All 4 voice parts, or 6 voice parts, I suppose. 1, 2, breathe. Libera. Great. Let's do that one more time. Let's just one last time. Ready? Libera me, libera me, libera me. Make sure libera me. Really long and relaxed jaw. Ready? 1, 2, breathe. Okay, so let's go look at the middle section of this, starting on bar. No, I don't want to do that section. Where is this? Here, 53. Now, there's a big difference between what we call compound meter and duple meter. We've talked about this before. Duple, as you can hear in the word, means 2. And so every single note is divided into 2. And so the piece that we just did, libera me. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, right? But this one is compound. Compound has 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the difference between compound and duple is very, very clear. Duple is like marches, right? Music that is much more square. And then compound, we think, has a swing to it. In fact, when we sing swung rhythms, that tends to make the music to be a bit compound feeling, right? Because you have these triplets that are there. And so this music is hard because nobody can get the D, S, E, La, D, S, E, re, fa, ta, ta, pa, 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 pa. So I want you to sing one. I just say 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, da, da, da. Just skipped, right? Skipping. We can go 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now let's go ta 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 ta. Ta 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 ta. Again. Ta 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 ta. Ta 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 ta. Ta 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 ta. Ta 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 ta. Ta 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 ta. Ta 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 ta. Ta 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 ta. Ta 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 ta. And that's the rhythm that we had here. Ta 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 ta. So, looking at this music. If I could turn the pages better, that would be great. But so let's go back to this. You build up, just like in most of the requiems, when we have the trumpets or the brass sound the day of destruction, you have one fanfare, you have another fanfare, and then you have the third one building up with the full chords. So we are all in unison for the first one. Then sopranos and tenors move up. Now, this sounds like it could be a minor chord. It could be A minor. This is page 56, bar 53 in the Liberame. So this is the middle of Liberame. And then you have this major chord. All of a sudden, harmony that comes out there. So let's take this apart a little bit. Everybody singing the melody. This is going to be part of a very clean soprano and tenor line. Generally, almost exactly the same except for the last two bars. So let's sing the soprano line first. Ready? 1, 2, ready, sing. It's almost a little sing-songy, ta-da-da-da-da, right? It doesn't have the same bite that some of the other Dies Iraes have, but then again, it's not supposed to, right? So let's try, again, the alto line. I'm going to play both of them, soprano, sing your same line. Okay, here we go. Pick up voice parts, tenors, and basses to sing. But it's nice to try to get both of them together at the same time. Oh, sorry, altos. You have a different note at the beginning. All right. 1, 2, sopranos, altos, go. And again, like we talked about at the very beginning of rehearsal with the ear training or whatnot, you have these melodies and you lay them on top of each other, suddenly you have harmony. And this just is a beautiful example of this. You can see that we start off from 2 notes and then things get wider and wider until the chords just emerge and appear. And in Russian singing, unisons are considered to be the most powerful. But in most other cultures, in their music, when we expand with harmony, that's when it becomes more colorful and louder. So this is a prime example of this. We have 2 notes. And then suddenly you get these grand harmony. Let's try the tenors. Now remember, the tenors are almost exactly like the sopranos, but they changed a little bit at the end. So everybody reading, just for harmony and sight reading's sake, I want to do this much more to actually have us read through other parts because I want you to hear the functions. When I've always been a tenor for most of my entire life, but there's a couple times where I was asked to sing baritone or bass or whatnot, and it was amazing how difficult it was, because the functions of those notes were completely different than I'm used to singing. I was used to singing, as tenors and altos know, sometimes the most bizarre Byzantine lines that kind of fit within the chords to make it work, and the voicing is very weird. But the basses oftentimes have the root of the chord, and tenors don't necessarily do it all the time. So I want to get used to not only sight singing, but also singing all the parts, so we have an idea of how these voice parts function and what notes within the scale degree and the arpeggios within the chords they sing. So tenor line, very much like the soprano line. Basses, sing the melody. Ready? 1, 2, here we go. So instead of singing da 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 da, et miseria, et miseria, you just basically hop around that D and have one extra note. Why don't we try those 3 voice parts together? Basses, feel free to sing any voice part you want to, but those 3 voice parts all together, right there. Ready? 1, 2, here we go. It's fun. And again, sort of lacks a certain bite to it because of that compound meter, which has a very sing-song quality to it. Barcarolles, like Boats on the Sea, have it. And yeah. So, okay. Hold on a second. Julia says, Baron Redder score has alto singing A, the entire thing instead of F. Yeah. I think that might be a typo too, because it makes more and more sense if it's all unison. But it's fine. They're both within the chord. So we'll keep to singing whatever your score has because of they both work. Okay, let's add the bass lines. That almost sounds like it could be the melody by itself too. Ready? Here we go. Basses. Everybody singing the bass line. 1, 2, and D, S, nice. Let's do all 4 voice parts. Okay. Now, this is a very good exercise for us to practice the diction, even though you're singing different notes, because going through those voice parts, you all had the same exact words. You're just trying out different notes. So listen to it one more time. Nice and full. Here we go. 1, 2, and not bad. Let's do that one more time. Now, D, S, E, re. Remember, what we want to do is sustain through. So not D, S, E, la, D, S, E, la, D, S, E, la. But sustain, as if you're trumpet, sustaining long notes and really terrifying the entire neighbor, right? 1, 2, and Now, same thing, very similar, but then we have a different starting pitch. So it's the same thing, very, very, very similar. So let's just look at this, and we have bar 62. Bar 62, we have G's. And this time, what I want to do is I'm going to play the chords, and I'm going to try to see if you can find your notes in the middle of those, but I'm going to play it slower, like this. Just like that. That's slow, and see if you can try to sing your line together and to work on, if you have your notes already because you've sung this many times before, then great, focus on the legato. Or if you want to challenge yourself by singing another part, that's great. But let's try just sight reading this through or looking at it again, getting your notes. 1, 2, here we go. Let's break that down a little bit. I want to hear basses and tenors. Everybody singing along, okay? But I want you to do, and you know what? If you're a soprano and alto, you can do this little exercise. You don't have to sing along with the basses and tenors. You don't have to sing along with your voice part. The key thing is I want you to be able to hear the harmonies. So even try experimenting with hearing the harmonies and singing whatever note that you want to, okay? Basses and tenors, though, I'm going to play their line plus the harmonies. Right? 2 and Sorry. Right? Now, there's this beautiful line for the tenors where you go da 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 da. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful line there. So you're rising. Clash. Now let's do the opposite. We're going to do sopranos and altos playing their voice parts very clearly, and then I'm going to be playing the harmony of the basses and tenors joining in. But basses and tenors, I want you to just focus on singing whatever notes you hear in the harmony. Again, it might be very difficult. You might not sing any of the notes. Sometimes we do this, but the goal is to be able to start to hear the harmony in more than just your voice part, but the harmony in which it lives, the context in which it exists. So again, bar 62, sopranos and altos playing their notes quite firmly, basses and tenors singing a harmonic line, whether it's your line or not. Or in the baron writer, just for both lines. 1, 2, and go. Should we do that one more time? Let's try that one more time. All of our voice parts, trying to sing your voice part, right? 1, 2, and Now, the way we went through these two these two phrases was exactly the opposite. For the first phrase, I played every single voice part individually and then built the harmony up. And the second phrase, we did exactly the opposite. I still haven't played the voice parts one by one. I started with the harmony and then went backwards. Both ways are good exercises to figure out how to figure out your voice part and to experiment with saying, you know what? Nobody can hear me, right? Except maybe my housemates or the neighbors across the way through the walls or in the streets if your windows are open. But this is your experiment to go through and try to see, you know what? I want to be able to sing within the harmony. Because when you sing within the harmony, that's when you help figure out the pitch. Like we talked about with solfege, you figure out what the function is and figure out the little adjustments that you need to make for this. So, in the last 3 or 4 minutes, I'm going to play the second phrase individually, one of those lines at a time. But I just want to go through the exercise and say, we do want to be able to do both. Sometimes you want to be able to just be able to sing through. Sometimes you want to be able to use your ear to figure out where your voice part is in the function, in the chord. And so both approaches are ways to approach how we teach and hear the lines. So in the few seconds we have left, sopranos. Let's have everybody sing the soprano line, bar 62. The same melody that we had before. Here we go. 1, 2, and here we go. Let's try the alto line. Or if you're in the barometer, I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be a G, but the fact is that the brass have the note in the chord too, but it would make more sense thematically, motivically, structurally, I should say, to be on the G. But pick a note. Soprano, alto line together. 1, 2, and D, S, nice, not bad. Some stepwise motion, but you have to be careful about the E natural and the E flats. Let's try tenor line. That's very similar to the first line. Here we go. 1, 2, and D, S, E, La, D, S, and again, that beautiful. And then finally, the bass line, the last 2 minutes we have. 1, 2, and D, S, E, La, D, S, ta da da da. And then finally, everybody together. Basses, tenors, altos, altos in the barometer, sopranos. Here we go. 1, 2, and okay. We will leave the rest of it for next week, but we're going to be going on and doing the second half. We did quite a bit of the Dies Irae, and we didn't actually slow it down that much. Now, looking back in the next 30 seconds, if you turn to page 52, or the beginning of the Liber a Me, we have the baritone solo. Goes on for a little bit. Then we have the tremens on bar 37. Bar 30. That Julia went through, I believe, before. There's some beautiful, beautiful sections, so we'll obviously go through that again. And then we get to the section that we just rehearsed. We have a little bit of that to sing, and then we end with the Liber a Me reprise, and that, of course, is all of us singing together. So that's our rehearsal. We're going to be doing this again next week, and diving in, again working on legato, again working on the sort of the darkest movement of this Fauré Requiem. And I promise we're going to have sectionals. I promise. We all love Paul. We need to have him and Julia involved. So maybe we'll do another sing-along as well, because those are fun as well. So feel free to unmute, and feel free to, maybe we can send emails to Ephraim, because he's such a sweetheart, such a nice guy, and it was wonderful to have him for the Requiem, other Requiem, one of the other Requiems, War Requiem, as well as for this today. So that's 2 Requiems he's been involved with us. We should just do the full set. So in any case, feel free to unmute and join us for chatting. I'm going to get a cookie.
Thank you, Ming.
Thank you, Ming.
Julia.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Ming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's a lot.
Thank you.